All right. Monday morning. Hawks game day. Justin Lynch, Tassos Kirkos, Raven Gasser. Welcome to Chicago Hockey Radio, everybody. Thanks for starting your week off with us, whether you are with us now live or you are catching us later. We thank you wherever you are coming from. Justin has a day of finals. We have a full day of content. So a bit of a shorter podcast for you today here. We'll probably do 30 on each end, Hawks Hour and NHL Hour here. So stick with us for the next 30 minutes while we tee up the Chicago Blackhawks, wrap up that Saturday night or Saturday afternoon. It felt like the night by the time it was over. Lost to Winnipeg. Anders Sorensen, first game as coach. They now go on the road for 3 games, Justin. They take on the New York Rangers tonight in Madison Square Garden. We're going to dig into the mess that is the New York Rangers and what has now followed with the Jacob Trouba being an Anaheim Duck, and maybe we'll get a debut of him tonight. And Igor Shesterkin signing. I'm going to throw it over to you here in a second. Just want to tell everybody to make sure you go subscribe to this YouTube channel at Chicago Hockey Radio. Just in case you're an audio listener and you're like, what YouTube channel? It's at Chicago Hockey Radio. And if you are a video listener, please go follow us on Instagram, or if you're any kind of listener, follow us on Instagram, but also head over to our audio pages, whether you have Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Follow us, follow our page, give us a 5-star rating and review. Listen to us there too. It helps us out a ton. So thank you. Justin, how was your weekend? Rangers tonight.
Yeah, pretty solid. I mean, yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I kept saying tonight on the post-game show versus the Hawks versus Jets games. So that was an afternoon game. I guess it was night for me being an hour ahead. But yeah, it was a good weekend. Definitely a busy week this week, like you said, with finals. And just definitely a week of grinding, to get through that. But, the winter break is the carrot at the end of the stick there at the end of the week. So I'm looking forward to that. And we got some Blackhawks to distract me too. I don't know, maybe the Blackhawks hockey isn't a great distraction at the moment, but you know what? I'll take what I can get. So yeah, looking forward to the game tonight. Hawks Rangers, a stoppable force meets a movable object. Should be an absolute barn burner of the way these two teams have been playing lately. And then I know we got Lee live streaming, so we got that to look forward to as well.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I totally forgot. Yeah, Lee is live streaming the game tonight. Raven will be here, and so will Sully. I will not be here, actually. Getting drinks with Scott Vargas, the head of the Puerto Rico Ice Hockey Association, PRAJ.
Nice.
So I will not be in attendance. I will be in attendance for his live stream on Thursday, though. I will be running the show for that one. But yeah, Raven's got that one covered tonight too. Shout out Raven. And you and him got the post game tonight as well too. So
nice. We'll be there.
Super busy day. And then you guys might maybe go on Instagram Live too.
Of course, yeah, we'll keep doing that. The little pregame shows, I like it for sure. We'll do that.
All right. Well, where do you want to start? I think we should start the Mrazek injury. Yeah. Korchinski and Camasso being called up. Joey Anderson on waivers too. That was kind of a, not a big deal, but a big deal around these parts. If you're, familiar with this show or the Hawks at all, that's a player that's seen a lot of ice this season, and now is finally the time that, some people were calling for this weeks ago, and some people didn't even really understand it right off the hop why he was in the NHL lineup over some other guys. But also we, young D-man called up. I don't know. How are we feeling? I mean, the Mrazek thing. We should probably start. Where should we start? Mrazek?
Yeah, I'd say let's start Mrazek. Yeah, I think actually it's a relief. It's only 1 to 2 weeks. That's the timeline that we've gotten. I think we were both worried it could be a little longer than that, but he said a little bit, Sorensen. So it's like there's the hope where it's like if you take him at his word, that shouldn't be a long injury. So thankfully it isn't. It does give Soderblom an opportunity here, right? I mean, we've kind of been saying it on the show. It's like he hasn't started a lot of games this year. 7, 8 games for Arvid. So he's going to get a chance here for this next week or two to be a starting goalie. He's going to take the load. Like they did call Drew Commesso up, but he's a young goaltender and had a bit of a tough season, the limited action he's had in the Ice Hogs. So I really don't think they're going to want to play him that much. Like Soderblom's going to take the load here for these next week or two. We might see Commesso make his debut at least. I'd be surprised if we don't see him once. But otherwise, like it's going to be Soderblom's in net for the next week or two. So we'll see what he does. Hopefully with Mrazek, right, like he comes back and it's not a big deal, right? It's just a minor injury because he has had some groin issues in the past. So hopefully it's not the start or something there and he comes back and he's the same goalie. But yeah, a relief it's not a long injury at least, I would say, for sure.
Yeah. Couple of things. One, I wanted to point out, I told the boys, but I am wearing my Blue Jays hat today because they missed out on Juan Soto yesterday, and I think that's kind of ridiculous that He went to the Mets, but they're still going to be bad, and so are the Blue Jays, and baseball stinks.
What is the deal? 15 years, $765 million hit for the New
It's
York Mets. Unbelievable.
Did you see what the Yankees were offering him?
No, I did
no.
not.
It was
Probably more
16
than that.
years, 760. So his AAV would have been less.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's like a huge buyout clause in his Mets one where it's like after 5 years, if they don't pay him, I think it's almost like 6 or 7 more a year. He can trade if he wants to. It's a
can't believe he's
very
making.
strange contract.
It's the richest contract in sports history, and I think it overtakes Ohtani's contract, which, I mean, so is a good player, but he's not Shohei Ohtani, so I think it's a bit of an overpayment on their end, but it's a big deal. I think the last time a 15-year contract in New York sports, I believe, was Rick DiPietro of the New York Islanders, and we saw that worked out. So but I'm sure this one will work out better, but that is something I thought about.
No way. Could you confirm that while we're screwing around here? 15 years.
I think so. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure. Obviously, in the NHL, you can't do that anymore. Now it's 8 years the max, but back in the day, there used to be those really long contracts. But no, getting back to New York and the hockey side of things. Well, actually, no, we'll talk about the Rangers later. And other Hawks news, Martinez was also injured, but he wasn't placed on IR.
Well,
But that's
hold
what.
on. I did want to stick in the goaltending. I didn't mean to.
Oh, sure.
I didn't mean
Okay.
to totally
Yeah.
take us aside here with the baseball.
Oh, my
talk,
bad.
but,
Okay, sure. Yeah.
No, I don't think Camesso's ready to play in an NHL
Yeah,
game
no.
right now. Like, you look at some of these other organizations that are deep in, I mean, I guess the Hawks are just down to it, right? They're down to their third goalie, and
They have
to
no
be
choice. Yeah.
to be
Who else?
like, oh, your fourth goalie and your fifth goalie aren't NHL ready is kind of a tough expectation to have for a team like Chicago. But
Yeah.
I don't think you got to put him in there. Do we have Justin? Yeah, we do. Yeah, I don't think you can put him in there. Like, there's a point, Justin, where like he's not ready to face NHL shooters. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're almost gonna like feel bad for him out there. That like they'll put the first like 2 out of 3 in the net, and then they'll be like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, and he did have a preseason game that I remember did not go so hot. Do the Hawks have a back-to-back? Do the Hawks have a back-to-back over these next week or two? I mean, even if they do, they might just start starting with both games. I'm just wondering, like, if they don't
have a
have
back-to-back next week, they don't have one this week, but I don't think they have one next week.
Yeah, so like I think they're probably only going to start Comesso if they have to, right? If God forbid Soderblom gets hurt too. It's funny, easy to think like Soderblom was the third goalie going to the season, right? Because Brossoit's been hurt all year, and like we said, we still don't know what his deal is when he's going to be back. Could be a while because he got another knee surgery. But it's like, yeah, we're down to our third and fourth strings right now, and it's like, yeah, they had no choice to call Comesso. It's either him or Mitchell Weeks. It's like pick your poison there. So
I
yeah,
totally lied. I lied. The Hawks have a back-to-back this Saturday, Sunday.
They do. Okay, so that's gonna be tricky. Like, do you start Soderblom both nights, or do you let Comesso make his debut? Before the season, I probably would have thought him starting a game early in the season would be bad for him just to see where he's at. But like you said, the way he's been playing, he's had a bit of a tough season with the Ice Hogs. I'm a little concerned. Like, if he does have to step into that net, that could be. I hope the defense and everybody just shows up for him because that would be kind of a tough situation for him. Yeah, maybe it could be a confidence booster. Maybe maybe he has a great game, and that does happen with goalies sometimes, right? And maybe that gets his confidence going, and he has a good season in Rockford. He had a good season there last year, but it's definitely been a bit of a step back for whatever reason this year. So, but it's easy to forget, like, this is one of our, 2 top goalie prospects. So, we do have expectations of him, and hopefully, he can get the season back on track. And hopefully,
do they rightly have expected, like, is there, I know there's some pedigree there with Comesso, but is he really that good?
Well, yeah, that's the question, right? I wouldn't say he's like one of the top goalie prospects. Like, I think he's maybe back half top 10, but we don't know for sure if he's a starter even, right? I think same deal with Guyon. He's a bit younger. He's got more time. He's in college right now. But with Comesso, he's had, a season at the Ice Hogs, and now this season's been a bit tougher. He's still young. I think he's, 22 years old or something. So it takes some time with goalies, but at the moment, I wouldn't say so, but he's still we don't know yet with him.
I'd love him to be great. Like, imagine if he even just stepped in there and put up a shutout, right? And
it would be great, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's rare, but sometimes with goalies, like, they actually adjust better to the NHL versus minors. It's rare, but it does happen sometimes. Goalies are weird. But yeah, it would be nice if he wound up being our next Crawford. I mean, that'd be great. I think Soderblom's rise this year definitely helps in that regard too. It's like, I think going to the season, I would have never thought of him as being a potential guy here, but Small sample size, yes, but the way he's played, I mean, I don't think we can rule him out in that conversation too. I think it's between him, Comesso, and Guyon. And if none of those three work out, then maybe you have to, look at free agency or trade. I think the nice thing is I think goalies is probably the easiest position to figure out from that regard. There's always going to be goalies available, and like where it's like you don't necessarily have to find them in the draft. So we'll see if that's a problem down the road. I wouldn't say it's an issue right now, but it is something not to think about in the future. Yeah.
You know what I think they should do?
What's that?
Well, I think they should give Soderblom a run of starts here, but I also don't really believe that this is like. It may just be a flash in the pan with Arvid Soderblom, right?
It could be.
I think that might be kind of what we're looking at here. I think the Hawks are playing much more defensively sound this season too, and much more structured, and they're not getting blown out in as many games too. And so the win-loss record isn't there. So I think you got to sell high on Soderblom eventually here.
Yeah, well, they got a decision to make when Brossoit does come back, because they're not going to have three goalies in the roster. Like they're going to have to do something, move one of those goalies, and it's like with
before he
Soderblom,
fizzles out, just get him for trade a third-round pick. See if you can get a third-round pick for him.
You could argue it's another Ryan Donato situation where it's like this guy's playing at a level that's probably not sustainable and is probably not going to reach again. So, and you do look at his season last year where it's like this does seem to like kind of come out of nowhere. It's like, is he going to be able to keep this up? Probably not, but I would love to be proven wrong. But I do see what you're saying there, and it wouldn't shock me if the Hawks do decide to trade him while his value is high and maybe gets up and back when Brossoit does return, whenever that is. Like who knows at this point with Brossoit. Yeah.
We're gonna wait for calls from Blackhawks morning skate here. We're seeing as they are in New York and in the Eastern time zone, so we should get note here soon. I don't know if we really do know if Kevin Korchinski is going to be in the lineup yet tonight.
Yeah, because he wasn't there at practice yesterday because he just got called up. So I don't know if they will get a morning skate, but I don't know if they want to throw him in a game without a practice to get under your belt. I think he's probably the 7th D right now, but I'm sure we'll see him at some point during this trip, depending on how long Martinez is out. I mean, I think he's probably going to be out less than Mrazek because he wasn't put on IR, so it's possible. I do hope we see Kevin at some point. The fact that we called him up, I'd like to get him back in some game action here. It would be nice if he played so well where it's like they were forced to keep him up here and not send him back down, but I imagine that's probably not the plan. They're probably just going to send him down the second Martinez is back and healthy, but we'll see if Kevin. I am excited to see him back, though.
There's no use having him come up here to be the 7th guy.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, probably tonight, that's probably the plan, but hopefully not. But I think it'd be nice to see I think it would be good to see just where he's at, right? What he's gained, the confidence he's gained in Rockford. I do think it was a tough start to season there, but he's been playing noticeably better lately, especially last few nights. Sorensen commented on that. So hopefully it's a seamless adjustment. He looks a lot stronger at the NHL level compared to last season, the preseason in which he struggled. I do hope so. I hope he stays up here, but probably not. We'll see what happens in that regard for sure.
They're not going to keep Mikheyev on the top line like they had in yesterday's practice, are they?
I don't know. I mean, I don't love him up there, but at the same time, I did say it on the post-game show where it's like you got to have somebody on that line who can get Bedsy the puck. I mean, Mikheyev has absolutely no offensive abilities whatsoever, but he is fast. He's good on the forecheck. I mean, maybe that's the thought process there. I don't think you can have 3 guys in that line who can't win puck battles, so like that's something he can do. But so yeah, I imagine that probably is the plan. We'll see how that works out. I'd rather somebody else up there, we could do that job like a Foligno. Like Foligno's been up there. Also, I wish they kept Tavo in that line and dropped Kurashev because Tavo has shown chemistry with Bedard this season. I know Kurashev showed chemistry last season, but we just flat out haven't seen it this season. Like Kurashev, for whatever reason, is not the same player he was last season.
No.
I think we've seen enough of a sample size this year to judge that, and I don't know if he's going to find it again. I hope he does, but I'd rather keep Tavo up there and have somebody like Foligno instead of Mikheyev. I know Foligno's slow, but he's shown chemistry at those two during the season in October. That was a good first line for the Hawks. It's probably the best first line they've had all season. They've never gone back to it for whatever reason. But yeah, Mikheyev, we'll see how it works out. They did try on that opening game of the season. That didn't work out so well, so we'll see if it changes this time around. He has been playing a bit better lately, I will say. He had an assist the last game, and it just has looked more noticeable, so I think I see the vision, what he's going for, but at the same time, I don't really get it either. It's like, really, I mean, we're looking to get more offense out of Bedsy. It's like you're supplying him with
maybe Anders Sorensen knows that Mikheyev is a total zero offensively, so sticking him on a line with Bedard, he's like, oh, Connor's going to think, like, I have to score now. You know what I mean?
Maybe it is.
Ilya's doing it,
Yeah, it does help. I do think you kind of need somebody on line too, like who has defensive responsibilities, right? Because that wasn't the case the last game. Mikheyev can handle that, and it kind of allows Bedsy to kind of, leash the reins a little bit, like you just said there. So I see what he's going for. We'll see how it works out. Like at this point, try anything, I guess. But at the same time, this does kind of seem like I was hoping he'd go for more continuity at the Lions instead of reverting back to this table in the third line, Mikheyev first line. It feels like Luke Richardson's back here. I don't know. It feels like he was never left. So that's one thing that's a little I don't love that. He's already changing lines after one game, but we'll see how it works out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I want Kevin Korchinski to get into some of these games here upcoming.
I would hope
here.
so.
There's 3 games this week and then 3 next week, including that back-to-back this weekend that sort of combines the two. But yeah, I don't know. I want to see him play some minutes at the NHL level. I don't know when Seth Jones is coming back.
Probably next week, I would think. They said they hope they can
so.
join the team on the road trip. Doesn't mean he's going to play, but he'll join the team. Yeah. I mean, the timeline, I think he went on IR, November 14th, 15th, they said 4 weeks. So that would be next week, in terms of a month return, but they might get him some practices beforehand, but they really need him back soon. Like I think this team's play is going to help out a lot when he gets back. But yeah, they're definitely missing him a lot. But yeah, like you said, Kevin, it does no use for his development just to sit him on the bench. So I do hope he gets in some games and we can see just the progress he's made this season in the AHL, for sure.
Do you want to talk Rangers in this portion
I
of
do
the
want
show,
to talk
or
about,
do you want to save it for the NHL hour?
I do want to talk about the Joey Anderson waivers thing real quick. I do find it interesting.
Let's rip.
I kind of called this one too. I'm pretty sure I said it. I'm not sure which show last week I said it, but I said if there's a player in this group who's the odd man out, it's Joey Anderson. And I do find it interesting the timing of this placed on waivers because that does open up a spot there, right? I mean, unless it's because they called up Kevin, right, because of the Martinez injury. Mrazek on IR, obviously, and they called Comesso. So that's an open spot there, if I'm not mistaken, because those two cancel each other out. With the Anderson, assuming he clears waivers, I don't think anybody's going to pick up Joey Anderson. He's going to go on Rockford.
No,
since he hasn't played lately, I think that's probably the thought process, right? Just so he gets some game action. Same thing for Anthony Ciu, but not the same player, obviously. But my thought process there is, I wonder if the move I've been calling for weeks is finally brewing here. I wonder if the plan at some point here soon is to call up my boy Frank Nazar. I'm just going to put that out there because that does seem interesting to me. Why now is Joey Anderson being sent down?
Well,
that does open up a spot in that forward core where it's like maybe there's a move coming there.
Well, I mean, he's not an NHLer. He's not a National Hockey League regular. Like, he's a call-up guy.
Yeah, he's an AHL player in most squads. Yeah.
And frankly, he'd make the Rockford Ice Hogs a lot better of a hockey team, too. Like, they've been kind of, like, middling through the season a bit. And they're really talented and probably should be way better than their standing suggests, too.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a new head coach and a new system down there. How about you go put a player that could score a point a game at the AHL level and help put W's on the board for putting some confidence in the kids that you put all down there? Because if you're going to play for a losing hockey team, make it this losing hockey team.
Exactly. That's a great point. And yeah, it's like it's such a young team there too with the Ice Hogs, where it's like I think having another veteran presence down there will help them out a bunch, especially if that coaching change too. It's probably a good time for that. But yeah, I do wonder. It's funny. I've been calling for this team to get younger. Korchinski called up Drew. Hopefully Frank is next. We'll see. But I do think having some young guns in this Hawks team would inject some life, some energy into this club, and I think just something for Hawks fans to be excited about. Because let's be honest, the morale right now it's pretty low. Like there's not a lot to be excited about at the moment. But I do think with Sorensen, right, we'll finally start to see what he's really like, with this road trip, right? I mean, I think we can't take too much away from that Winnipeg game because he just come into it, right? He had one practice to work with. Now he's had a couple, right? He's had a few days of the team. We'll start to see the system come to fruition this week and hopefully see some progress here. I mean, this is a Rangers club we're facing tonight. We can tee up the Rangers now. I mean, They haven't been too hot lately either. I think they've lost 7 of their last 9 or something. The Trouba trade obviously just happened, the Shesterkin extension. That team's not in it's not in a great spot right now like us. So you would look at that.
I just want to say I need to go back and check the tapes on some old Chicago Hockey Radio episodes and episodes of my show from earlier in the season where I was not trying to like poke the narrative too much, but I was just saying like this New York Rangers team. I know I'm not trying to be LeBron.
Oh, you
out
did.
here.
We've talked about the Rangers a bit on the show.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to be, but I said way before this whole tailspin here that they're not that good, and now it's happening, and I feel a little validated. I won't lie. It feels pretty good, and yeah, they're bad, man. Like they're that yesterday in Seattle. Now, okay, they could look like world beaters tonight against the
Yeah, it's the
Blackhawks,
Blackhawks. We'll make anybody look good.
but they're not good, Justin. Like they're like I don't know. They're not good at all, man.
They're not. I don't think they're cup contenders anymore. And
No.
like at this point, do you even think? I mean, I think they'll probably still make the playoffs. I think the team's still good enough to at least do that. But what do you think? Do you think there could be a chance they miss out?
Yes, I think
You think so?
Yep,
Yeah.
I do.
That would be it,
Trocheck.
yeah.
Vincent Trocheck. I know he made Team USA.
I don't understand how he made
I
it.
still think that's him and Kreider. Like that's so absurd. You know, Artemi Panarin is obviously outstanding, and that I am willing to recognize, and so is Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox. But the team they've built around those three guys is just not it. Like Capo Caco's a bust. Alexis Lafreniere is, you know, maybe there's a day he turns it on and turns into Nathan McKinnon, but I'm still waiting for that day that he turns into like there are tiny flashes of it sometimes where you're like, oh, this guy's a horse. But, you know, Nathan McKinnon steps on the ice, and every single time he does that, he's Nathan McKinnon, you know? Alexis Lafreniere goes out there and it's just such a wishy-washy kind of dude, and I don't know. I like Keandre Miller. His game has been kind of down the last, like, I think calendar, I think like the calendar year of 2024 has not really been great to him. But I don't know. I don't know what
It's a bad jab. Like, what has he done this season?
Terrible.
Like 5 of 5, even strength. Like he does nothing. I think all his production comes to the power play. And yeah, Will Cooley is their third leading scorer, so that tells you how their season's going.
He's a good player though. He's good.
He's good, but he shouldn't be that team's third. Yeah, but you're right. He is a good player. Better than I thought. I didn't realize he was such a high draft pick and all that. He's pretty decent. I think he's already got eclipsed his point total from last season in the whole 82 games. So, but yeah, that's probably a lone bright spot on that team right now in terms of production. Everybody else is having worse seasons except for Panarin. I mean, even their best players like Shesterkin before that. I think the extension is probably good for him because even he hasn't been having the best season for his standards, but the team around him hasn't been that great, to be fair. But Quick's numbers are better than him right now, but I'm sure that'll change now. But yeah, I mean, like we said, like we talked about a lot in the show, just the Rangers kind of being a bit of having a tough situation right now. So hopefully the Hawks can pounce on that. 5 straight losses here. We haven't won since, not last Wednesday, the Wednesday before that. It's been a long time since we've seen a Blackhawks win. And you'd like to think of that, look at this game as an opportunity. But when you're dead last in the NHL with a new coach and a new system and with a team with low morale right now, it's like, is there really any game you can look at that's a winnable game? Like they're all, the opponent's going to be favored every time with where this Blackhawks team is at right now. So for the Rangers, you probably look at the Hawks' schedule and think of that as a chance to, kind of right the ship. But hopefully, if the Hawks,
they're probably thinking of it like that. But if the Hawks, I see Lee in the chat here, but the Hawks should try and go in there with a step on your neck mentality tonight and think of them almost as a wounded animal that you're going out there to just finish the job on them. Because if the Hawks were to go in there and the Rangers peed down their legs tonight, that could be it for some people in the organization, honestly. Because yesterday against you saw that Seattle scored like 5 straight goals.
Yeah, that was
Shane Wright has also been so good. But yeah, I don't know. There's all the Mike Sullivan talk. There's the crazy Brady Tkachuk talk, which is really toned down over the last few days. I don't know.
That's a good thing you bring up because like as bad as things are, the Rangers are right now. Yeah, like if they lose and then like convincingly to this Blackhawks team. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can officially, if the panic button isn't already hit, like you can hit it, and like there probably going to be more moves coming. Like I doubt the Trouba trade is it with the Rangers. It feels like there's more brewing there, and I think that could probably set off a chain reaction there. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how do you think tonight's going to go? Do you think it's more the Rangers come out swinging really hard? Do you think it's the other way around? Like maybe they just like pull up and lay an egg.
I feel like I've said it the last couple, like, oh, this is a game that Blackhawks should win. I feel like I've said that the last few, and this feels like one the Hawks honestly should win. I know the Rangers are still a much better team, but it's like it does feel like this team is due. It's like, okay, like we've gotten that first game, the kind of the rust settled, this new coach, where it's like we'll finally start to see that bump. I did talk about it. There tends to be a bump of new coach, and hopefully we'll start to see that this week. We'll start to see the system come to fruition, get more involved offensively. Score more than 2 goals a night would be nice. So yeah, hopefully with the Hawks, they're high energy, more than 14 shots a goal that we had against the Jets. Like that's inexcusable. We gotta get the puck on net more, more chances, more offensive zone time, and yeah, hopefully we can pounce here. I do think Shesterkin is starting for the Rangers tonight because I think he didn't
Oh, I
start
bet.
last night because I think he didn't start last night because I think he and his wife are expecting a child or something. So I'm not sure if that happened yet. If it hasn't, then maybe he won't start
They
tonight.
did. It did
They
happen.
did.
I think he
Okay.
stepped away for yesterday's game, if I'm not
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that happened yet. So okay, so I'll probably be playing today. But
He
yeah,
is
I
the
mean,
unconfirmed starter along with Arvid Soderblom for tonight. So
yeah, I would have thought of Soderblom versus Shesterkin being like a hot ticket goalie matchup this year, but it kind of is the way Arvids are playing. So yeah, hopefully the Hawks can come away with a W. It feels like they're due, and I do think this team needs 2 points here. I mean, soon at some point during this trip, like we got to get out of this funk and get the energy, the vibes back. But I'm not really sure. I'm in terms of making a prediction. I feel like every prediction I make tends to go the other way. So I'm not really confident enough to say anything about this game in terms of the score or anything. I feel like the Rangers are still heavily favored, but I do hope the Hawks as the underdog, can finally get some magic going there and some good vibes rolling.
yeah, heard. I want to see a good game out of 98 tonight. I
Yeah.
would love to see another. I said on the post game show on Saturday that I thought Taylor Hall was pretty noticeable. I would love to see another game of that. I would love to see Arvid continue to play. Now that you're going to get the next few games here, right? You're going to get 3 of the next 4 at least, maybe 4 of the next 4. I could see them starting him back to back Saturday, Sunday with travel. Even though they probably won't, and we're probably going to see a Drew Comesso first NHL game at some point here.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but yeah, I don't know. Play well now that you're getting the run of games here. I would like to see Tyler Bertuzzi maybe tuck one in the back of the net here at some point this week. Why
He
not
needs
do it
to
on
do
Madison
something.
Square Garden ice?
I saw that clip again where Bedard, we talked about it briefly on the post-game show, like Bedard at the end of the game against the Jets with the goalie pulled down one, makes 2 beautiful moves, a beautiful zone entry. He had a few of those, Saturday game. The zone entries he's been improving, which he does need to get better in that regard, but he has been. Makes beautiful plays there, sets up Ty Bertuzzi. He has a few options. He can put the puck on it, get it back to Bedard, cycle it to the D, whatever. He decides to throw the puck around the boards, then both the Hawks on the opposite side miss, and then, the Jets seal with empty netter. Like, that's just one play that just sums it up. Like, I feel like Bedard's season, I feel like the second he steps on the ice, the rest of the Hawks team becomes like competent this season. So, but yeah, with Bertuzzi, like, he's a guy, we have higher expectations of that contract, bringing him in the offseason. He hasn't lived up to it. I mean, he's had a few moments, but it hasn't been consistent. I do want to see more out of him. I would agree with that. Hall too. I know he had that Hattie, but he hasn't really done much since then. It's been a lot of games where it's like, oh, he looks good, but there's no production. So we need more from these guys, more consistency from guys like Tavo, who I don't love him back in the third line, by the way. I think that's a mistake, but more from guys like that. And yeah, for sure.
When we were talking about the Mrazek injury, did we say that like this has been something that has plagued him throughout his career?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
like we speculate if the higher workload this will eventually happen. It has.
Yeah.
So it does, and it does give Cyberman an opportunity. Like we'll learn a lot about him this next week or two if this season's really legit, or if it was a bit of a flash of the pan, just playing those once every week or so. But now that he's playing 3-4 games over this next few nights, like it's going to be.
How could you not
big for
see
him.
that you were running Mrazek into the ground?
I don't know. I don't know how they denied it too. It's like
Yeah, they did.
It-
You're 100% right. Like,
Yes.
And now
Yeah.
he's hurt, and you're down to your 3rd and 4th goalies on the last place club in the National Hockey League.
It's not great. That's not great.
When your goalies of us like Mrazek's been good, so
Yeah.
why didn't you? I don't know.
And the way Cybers are
so
playing, like
frustrating.
there's no reason to play him that much. Like I said, this should be more of a 1A, 1B tandem. It hasn't been that way. And Brezic has never played, look at his career, like ties. Like he doesn't tend to play a ton of games compared to most starters for a reason, because he's had those injury issues. I know during the Hawks tenure, he's been better at the durability, but even his first season with the Hawks, he had an injury. He didn't last year. I think last year is the first year. Maybe it might be the first year since his rookie season that he hadn't had an injury in his career. I feel like every year it goes down to something. So Hawk should have seen that coming, and hopefully when he comes back, it won't happen again. But hopefully it's not this, because with Razik sometimes, like, one thing leads to another of him, right? So hopefully it's not the case, because with this goalie situation, especially Barosov being out as long as he is, like, I know Cyber's been better, but like, do we really trust him being the starter for an extended period of time, and then having Comesso, Weeks, whoever as a backup? Yeah, I don't think so. No.
All right. Lee also brought up David Carl in the comments as a potential next head coach for the Blackhawks. I don't think he's going to leave Denver for the Chicago Blackhawks, but if he would, I would go out and make that hire right now. And there's also some really good coaches out there that are really good. Quick point of note: somebody brought up to me that we can maybe dissect a little later on in the week or throughout Anders Sorensen time as a Blackhawks coach, but someone told me that this might have been a promotion to get him out, essentially, because they're not going to extend his contract after this. They're going to go out and find somebody else, and then they're not going to go and make him the Rockford coach again. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of a it's kind of a firing by promotion is what I was told. But
interesting.
Yeah, so just some thoughts and some things to chew on. I think he's going to be given a chance here, but I that's just something that was relayed to me, so I want to put that
according to Davidson, like, he is going to give him. We'll see if Davidson doesn't always, whatever Davidson says,
his contract. Based off what this person told me, I don't think they're going to re-sign his contract.
But I think they're going to give him this season at least. But you're right. Yeah. I think it does seem like the Thomas Brown situation with the Bears too, where it's like he's just filling in for now, and then the offseason when he could sign an actual proven, experienced, keyword experienced NHL coach, because the Hawks haven't had that since Joe Quenneville. Like, you get somebody like that, to get this team out, bring this team solely out of this rebuild. Like, that's the type of coach you want. Somebody with experience, with a proven pedigree, winning track record for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute break here, and then we're going to come back on the other side with some NHL Hour. So make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio, and we'll be back on the other side. All right, NHL Hour, Chicago Hockey Radio. Justin Lynch and Tassos Kirkos here, bringing it to you live and in color. I wanted to talk about the Winnipeg Jets. I know they beat the Hawks on Saturday, and they were the Hawks' opponent, but I don't know. They're just they haven't been doing it for me lately. It's been an overall problem. I read an interesting article on them that I could pull a few notes from. I don't know. It was a good weekend around the NHL. I have to give credit for a good weekend. They spaced out a lot of the games, so you had games on Saturday and games on Sunday. It wasn't like one or two games on Sunday, like we've had some past weekends, so that was kind of nice. Yeah, I don't know what you took away from it other than the Blackhawks. We did a lot of Blackhawks talk. But what'd you like? What didn't you like? I do want to jump into the Jets at some point here, but yeah, I don't know. What thoughts on the weekend first, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, I probably should end with the Jets, not start with them, but like to your point, it's like following up that Blackhawks win, which it isn't very hard for a team to beat the Hawks these days, but you got to take those dubs, right? But then they followed up with a 4-1 loss to the Blue Jackets, where it's like that's not great. But I will say the Jackets have been a better team than I expected. Like I'm not a lot of us expectations of that team going into the season, but I mean, look at their record. I think they're above 500 right now, so that's pretty good. I mean, that's better than I expected with them for sure.
Yep.
And yeah, we talked about the Rangers, like that 7-5 game against the Kraken. That kind of sums up their season at the moment. But yeah, just looking at the rest of the weekend, I think there's definitely some interesting games here. The Flyers take another L. Tortorella had some things to say this way. Yeah, another entertaining press conference.
Comments?
He was calling out the dive in. Yeah, he was like, maybe I got to teach our guys how to dive. Yeah, he's never been one afraid, calling out officiating and things like that. So. And yeah, and then also just the Stars 6-2 win against the Flames. That was pretty interesting. Flames maybe finally starting to come back down to reality here. I feel like they've been overperforming, and the Jets or not the Jets, the Stars definitely served them up a bit of a beating there. Yeah, those would say the games from yesterday that stand out.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to point out the Penguins Maple Leafs game from Saturday. Brian Rust was really good in that one. Michael Bunting scored the go ahead, and Pittsburgh's been putting together some games too. We were, or at least I was painting the picture of the demise of the Penguins, and I think they've won something like 6 of 7 or 7 of 8 or something like that.
Have they really?
Yeah, and it's been kind of sneaky that they've done that, and nobody's really been paying attention a lot, and they've beaten some pretty good teams in the process. And my whole thing with the Penguins still is you're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, I guess if the Rangers really bottom out here and are terrible,
yeah, no.
You could catch them in the race. I want to find out. Yeah, the Penguin, how many games the Penguins have won. But yeah,
they're 12, 13, and 4.
They're 12, 13, and 4.
So they're still below 500, even going on this run. It's like, yeah, even if they do make the playoffs, which I don't think they can.
The Rangers have won 5 of 6. Sorry, the Penguins have won 5 of 6.
Yeah, so I mean they've been playing better, but it's like even if they do somehow squeak into the playoffs, like do we really think this team is gonna do anything once they get there? I mean the Penguins, like, when was the last time they even won a playoff series? And I don't think this team is capable of doing anything in it. So I don't even know if they're gonna. I mean, who are they gonna bump out here? Really? I mean, because I think the Rangers, even we've talked about, even with their struggles, I still think they're gonna be there. I mean, maybe it's possible somebody could bounce them out of that, but I don't really know. I mean, looking at it now, I'm not sure any team is gonna pass them here, but we'll see. I mean, a lot of things could change.
Like, you're not going to make the playoffs, but you're never going to bottom out. And the goal hasn't been to bottom out in Pittsburgh, right?
No.
When in reality, if you look at it, like this draft you don't have that generational guy, but you like have a lot of really good play. Like there's a lot, like
yeah.
If the Penguins could walk away with one of Higgins, Martone, Schaefer, whoever, Misa, like, okay, you're starting to really, that's a piece. First of all, did you see the Misa to BU stuff?
I did. I mean, it's seen a lot of like potential players, in the Canadian junior ranks who could be moving over to college next season.
The other big one is Gavin McKenna.
Gavin McKenna, yeah,
ripping up the WHL right now. And if you're the Penguins, you want to be in the mix for that group of players in 25, and you should be doing everything in your power if you're the Pittsburgh Penguins to tank for Gavin McKenna in 2026.
If they're smart, that's what they'll do. I mean, I look at this team; it's not going anywhere. They've been stuck in mid for years now. I mean, we want to get back into contention here. The best thing you could do is sell off a bit now, and then be in tanking, for next. That's what the Hawks did, right? I mean, that's what worked out with them with Connor Bedard in 23. So with the Penguins, I mean, the Hawks went from a generational player, Kaner, to Bedard. The Penguins could be going from Crosby to McKenna there if they're smart. They'll be tanking next year and in that conversation because McKenna does look to be a pretty special talent there. I mean, he's putting up numbers pretty identical, if not better, than in their D1 seasons, McDavid and Bedsy. So we'll see. I mean, it's things could change, but he's looking pretty legit at the moment.
No, he looks legit. He's going to be on Canada's World Junior team, which is crazy that Beckett Seneca wasn't. Did you hold on? The Beckett Seneca.
How is he not?
Did you see
that was a nice goal? I saw that.
Goal?
He definitely took that personally.
He did that, and first of all, like he did that on purpose too. The kick to himself.
Oh yeah.
Like I watched that the first time, and I thought it was an accident.
No.
Then I watched it a second time, and I was like, oh no, he meant to do that. Like
those players are so good. Like every move they make is calculated. Like players in these leagues, they're not doing it by accident. They're not lucking into.
That's what kids are doing now.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Like, that's seriously like that's like the norm now. Like back in the day, doing a move like that would be like, oh, you're the only player in your league who could pull it off. Now it's like everybody's expected to. Even if you're a four-fighter, you're expected to have that kind of talent. So it just shows you just how much better this game's gotten in terms of talent. These young kids now, they're doing crazy shit. But yeah, the league's in good hands for sure. But yeah, if Canada, there's a few snubs there. I mean, I think Misa was left off. Like there's a few. It just shows you how good, how much talent they have, where they can leave off players like that and still feel confident going in, right? USA too.
Not to go full junior hockey mode here on the NHL hour.
We're coming up here. Yeah, World Juniors are pretty. I mean, we can get more into
it. Is World Junior season.
When the official rosters come out, we'll get into it. I think we'll talk about a lot in the show, but we're still ways away from that. I don't think obviously they haven't started the official practices and stuff yet, but we'll get there.
Maybe we got to do like a live stream, like a World Junior live stream.
We got to do that.
Especially if there's like a Canada-US game.
Oh, we got to do that. 1,000% down for that. I always enjoy that time of year.
Can you look up the groups, like in Canada and
I think US and Canada are the same. I'm pretty sure they're in the same group this year, so we should get a matchup. I wonder if we'll get one. Well, I guess
I was gonna say. Is it New Year's Eve? Because sometimes like they'll put on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, which would stink.
It would be tough for us because of the Winter Classic. But normally, if USA and Canada have those matchups on that day, yeah, it wouldn't shock me. Hopefully, it's not the same time, so I can still watch it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it's gonna be.
They're gonna be right at the. They're gonna be same day, same time as each other.
I swear to God, if it is, I'm gonna lose it. But no, it should be a good juniors this year. I mean, USA coming in as a defending champs. I mean, I'm not to get into it too much, but they can. I mean, you can look at a few countries like it feels like it's anyone's game this year. So looking forward to it.
The Hawks should have some prospects too at the World Juniors. So
yeah, I think Oliver Morris, Spellacy could be on the team. He's probably a long shot. He's probably just on the camp team, but Morris should be on the squad. Canada,
what is it? It's the same day? No way. Oh, it's not.
I don't know a date yet, but they're in the same group.
Okay, they are in the same group. So we will get a game at some point. Maybe they have a schedule out. Maybe they don't. Okay, that's enough World Junior talk. But that was a long-winded way of saying like there's a lot of players that the Pittsburgh because I started with Pittsburgh and them winning games now, and they probably shouldn't be winning games right now. Like I don't think Jari's any good still. The Maple Leafs made him look really good on Saturday night, but he's still a below average, well below average NHL goalie, almost borderline replacement level. And I just I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you seem like you have more.
December 31st, 7:30 p.m.
7:30. Oh, so it's at night though.
So it's after the game.
It's after the. Yeah, that's cool. We could
watch it. Okay,
we could stream it. We could stream it after.
After we finish our post-game show for the Winter Classic, we'll jump straight into USA versus Canada. I like it.
Lit,
that'll be a nice busy day, right? I like it. Yeah. I like it.
And then we can get some drinks after.
Then
Perfect. We can go to the bar after.
Absolutely, we've already got the plans laid out.
Yeah, that would be a long day. Okay. Yeah, so the Penguins, they stink. I'm trying to think what else we should talk about here.
Well, there is one Blackhawks thing. I know it's NHL, but I'm seeing this right now. We could be seeing some news later today because when this man talks, you listen. I speculated this. It's funny. I speculated this with the Joe Anderson being waived. Does that potentially lead to a Frank Nazar call-up? Well, Elliot Friedman at 32 Thoughts seems to believe that. He believes Nazar's call-up to the Hawks could come as soon as Joe Anderson clears waivers, which could be this afternoon. So we'll see. We'll keep a word out there. We'll keep a lookout. You know what? With how lucky we are on this show, I guarantee you that's going to break the second the show ends. But we'll see what happens there. It's speculation, but again, when Friedman talks,
I hope it does. Yeah,
I hope so too. This team. I've been calling it. I mean, how long? You know this. Like everybody who listens to the show knows how long I've been calling for this to happen. So I know it's one player, but I think he's a good enough player. Even he will provide an injection to this offense that desperately needs it right now. Dead last in NHL in that regard. So throw him in that top six, especially if a guy like Bedsy. I think that would be cinema. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep a lookout. But I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, that would be great. I'm just looking here around scoreboard from the weekend. Did you see Quinn Hughes taking a puck to the face, coming back with a visor and scoring the goal against Tampa yesterday?
Well, that's Quinn Hughes for you, man. That's what a season he's having right now.
He's becoming one of my favorite players in the league.
It's just so fun to watch.
Yeah. And I love his like personality. Like I love that he's as good as he is, and it's legit. Like the quiet, natural leadership that exudes from him. Like that's his authentic personality. And like some guys they cover up like really cool, fun personalities that they have in the vein of the hockey player, we're going to keep it quiet and it's we, not I, and all that stuff. Team, not me. And yeah, but like when Quinn is like a leader, like when he's
like, that's really him.
And it is, and he's an American guy, and there is that narrative of like American guys don't want to play in Canada, and Vancouver's so tough, and like you see it, like it burns players out like JT Miller, and it affects players on the ice like Elias Pettersson. But Quinn Hughes, it doesn't even bother him at all, and he seems to genuinely know what it means to play in Canada too, because him and Jack and Luke, they spent a little time growing up in Toronto, and they played in the GTHL, or Jack ripped up the GTHL, but they know like how much it means to the community there, right? Where I think a player like Austin Matthews really had to like learn that, right?
Yeah.
And Quinn, it's just like, I don't know, he does so much for the community there, and he's just so nailed. Like that was so nails yesterday, because that is the thing that sometimes I think people would say about him is he's too soft, he's too small. Like he's not that like big, get it done for you in the playoffs defenseman, but who cares? Like if he has the puck on his stick freaking every time he's on the ice.
Anything can happen when he's on the ice, when he gets a puck. It's funny you mentioned that too. I mean, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of U.S. players who do. I mean, Trouba literally said it, like, I have no interest in playing in Canada. That's a big part of why, the Ducks are one of the teams that he was traded to. But like, there's a lot of U.S. players who just don't want to, for whatever reason, whether it's the weather, taxes, the media, whatever reason, like they prefer playing in the U.S. So it's good to see a player like that who he appreciates the hockey market like Vancouver, and he kind of thrives in that environment. Not all players do, but he definitely has.
I'd want to play in Canada if I was an NHL player. Would you?
The pride, I'd play. This thing, I'd play any. I don't really get this narrative. Oh, I want to play here. I want to play there. If you're in the NHL, I don't care where I'd be playing. I'd just be happy to be there. I don't know. I feel like some of these players, maybe they have a little bit of a. I don't want to put this out there. Some of them is a little privilege. I don't know. It's like, just be grateful where you're at, man.
I mean, you know what sport we're talking about, right?
Yeah, this is hockey. It's made of money. So a lot of these players, they're very talented. They also had, the upbringing to get them there. But anyway, I'd love to play in Canada. That'd be an honor for sure.
Like where they love it so much. Like Calgary would be a fun place to play, I think.
That's what I appreciate, the fan base. Like, yes, there are American fan bases who care as much as as any others, but it's like those Canadian ones, like they're really into their team, they're really into their hockey. I mean, some places like Winnipeg, that's literally all they care about is hockey. Like that's it. So yeah.
Beckett Seneca has been added to Canada's selection camp for the World Junior Championship.
Really? That's funny. We were literally just talking about that. I mean, he's been playing so well lately. I think I saw a stat like in the 4 games since then, like he's been just absolutely ripping it up.
14 points in the 4 games.
So there you go. So they saw that. And that's the thing. Like these things that can change, right? So there's still time. So I'm not surprised by that. Did somebody go down where it's like they had to make that move?
It's Easton Cowan, but he's still on the roster. He's just being held out of camp due to precautionary reasons. So Canada found a way to sneak in Beckett Seneca as an extra player without having to give anybody up.
Well, yeah, I'm sure those are totally. They probably. No, I'm not going to say they made that up.
Too, because the Penguins second rounder Harrison Bruneke got hurt. So
yeah, I mean that's 2 players that should have been on the camp roster right away, but at least they made up for their mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be a dangerous squad for sure. I think between them and US, it can make a case for either, but maybe somebody else. We'll see. Yeah.
I think Canada might have the US at the World Juniors this year, but I think we got them.
The 4 nations, the very coveted 4 nations.
Yeah, the most important tournament to ever be played in hockey, the 4 nations face off.
And it's funny, the narratives can be completely different depending on who wins that, right? Like if the US win it, like we're going to be saying that, but then the Canadians will be saying, "Nah, this is a meaningless tournament. Who cares?" So that'll be funny to see that dialogue, and the banter, and then that'll be fun.
I don't know. I look at the Team Canada depth chart, like with all the lines out there too.
Not
And I look at it
that,
versus the US one and I'm like, buddy, they don't stand a chance.
I've said it. Like besides the top six, like that Canada team really does not scare me at all. I think the U.S. team is way stronger. But maybe
Well,
that's me being
no. The
biased.
top 6 of Canada is the only thing that,
Yeah,
but I look
like
at
that
it
could
too,
carry him alone.
the decor, and I get it. Like Devontae should be on the team, and so should both. But I think it's weird. Okay, like Hockey Canada, I heard interviews where they're trying to find, and then we can cut it and we can get back to NHL. But they're trying to find players in like pairs, right? Mm-hmm. And literally, that's what they did on their back end. They brought the pair from Colorado and the pair from Vegas, and I just think you might have left some other guys off the team. I don't know.
Yeah, because like you're trying to kind of keep these chemistries from these existing teams, but then you're kind of leaving out some maybe probably better players. So that's a tough thing, right? It's a tough balance to strike.
Mm-hmm.
Make your team as you want go chemistry role guys, or you just want to send the best players.
It's like when they put Chris Kunitz on the Olympic team. You remember that?
I do. Yeah, that was an interesting one because of Crosby. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, some people are like, well, there's a lot of better players leaving off here, right? But maybe short term, and sometimes that's more important. You could argue. Yeah.
We didn't really when we talked Rangers, but we didn't really talk Shesterkin contract.
No, yeah, it's 8 years, 92 million, right? 11.5 average annual value. I think that's around because we've been speculating on the show for a while, like what that contract could look like. I think we all said it'd probably be above 10. Some have speculated could it be even above 12. So that's kind of in between what we probably thought. That's big though.
Right before it came out on my show with Lee on Friday, I said 13, and then it came out
really
right after. Yeah, I thought it was going to be 13, but
some of the numbers I've seen, 11.5 almost doesn't seem like I was almost surprised it wasn't a bit more, but that's still 11.5. That's still $1 million more than Bobrovsky. I believe that's the highest paid goalie contract there is now, right? Am I wrong in saying that? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you are correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's big. And another big contract in New York sports. They're just really kicking it this weekend. But yeah, I mean, for them, I think it's just good to finally get that done, right? That's one distraction out of the way. That's the thing, because especially if the Trouba thing too, that's probably locker room morale probably not high after that, but maybe that helps a little bit. And that's the whole reason they made that trade, right, to free up this cap space there. I was surprised that they didn't have to retain any salary of that $8 million contract. That was probably well done from their regard. So, and they allowed them to make this move with Shesterkin. So maybe that's one positive bit of news there for the Rangers. Otherwise, not much good to say about them at the moment, as we've talked about.
No, none. I mean, yeah, that's why you had to get rid of Trouba, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to sacrifice your captain to get your goalie locked up, which they needed to do because without Shesterkin, they're kind of screwed. So yeah,
buddy, the Hawks have to string together some wins here. I'm just looking at the record, and it looks bad. Yeah. Like 8-17-2, it looks bad on the eyes. You got to get it up to like 11-12 wins here pretty soon here.
And this trip does seem like it should be an opportunity, right? I mean, the Rangers have been a tough spot, and the Islanders haven't been any better. They've been worse. And then, the Devils at the end of it will be tricky. That's going to be a tough one. But, I mean, these next couple, I look at both New York City games, like, why can't we win both of these? Why not? Get the 10 wins here.
Yeah, I mean, the goaltending, probably, if we're getting a steady diet of Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Sorokin the next 120 minutes of regulation hockey, that might be pretty tough.
I can't wait for some more low-scoring 1-0, 2-1 barn burners. Hopefully it's not going to be a case for Lee's live stream. We'll have some more entertaining games to cover, but I don't know, man. These games might be tough for him. But Lee will make anything entertaining, so I'm sure he'll be fine.
How many live streams do you think it's going to take before he gets a win?
That's the thing, right? This is his 4th one tonight, right? So. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that streak ends tonight, but I don't know. 4,
man. And then he's doing the next one. He's literally doing the next game too.
So let's just get one. Let's get one win for him, right? Yeah, we're not asking for a lot here at CHR, right? We have the bare minimum expectations, and sometimes those aren't met. So let's start to change that narrative, right? Yeah.
Lee just chimed in our chat saying he's getting the win tonight, boys.
Well, I'm glad he's confident.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that, Lee.
All right. Well, let's talk about I mean, I said let's talk about the Jets a little bit. I did want to talk about them. Yeah, it was such a hot start for them, and now it's been such a not. And I just don't really know what you do because, I don't know, man. I think it's not good. I think it's not good enough. You lose to the Blue Jackets yesterday. It was awful. And the Blue Jackets are good and they're plucky and they're 500. I know you were thinking they were over 500 and technically loser point. They're
they're 500. Okay, my bad.
they're 3 games under if
Yeah.
you combine the loser point with the losses. But they're so plucky, and I spoke to Dylan Tyrer on my show, who's a broadcaster for them, and talked to him last week, and such a strong, resilient group, and the Russians really good, but the Jets, dude, like that was so bad, and you get the win against that should have been 4 points for you, easy and done. And really, they didn't look. I said it at the postgame show. They didn't
look that great. The Hawks game.
They didn't look that great. It's just the Hawks didn't look good at all, and they didn't fire any pucks on the net. And if the Hawks had doubled their shot total,
could have won that game.
They would have won that game.
It wasn't Hellebuck's best performance either. I mean, 14 shots, you're still letting in 2. So if the Hawks put more pressure on, they definitely could have come away with that one. It felt like one they should have won, but that's a story of this Blackhawk season. Oh, it feels like we should have won that one, boys, and we say that every time. But the Jets 16-1 start, historic. And now they're 20-9. They've gone 4-8 since then, so it's not great. They still have an 8-point buffer to the playoff line. I think that's how good their start was, where it's like they could kind of coast from here. But I don't know, man. It's like all of a sudden it's like you can only go that for so long, right? Eventually it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah, Mark Scheifele is such an interesting guy to me too, and how he's so good. And I think of the Winnipeg market, like they're going to remember him one day, much like they remember the late Dale Hawerchuk. And like he's that kind of player and that kind of leader, and he was the first draft pick in Jets 2.0 franchise history, and but he's not that kind of guy. Like he's not even a lot of times like a point per game guy, right? Like that's not always like he could score a hat trick one night and you wouldn't think it out of the question either, but he could also go like zeros across the board, and he's not even like a great shutdown guy either, right?
Yeah,
like
no, it's not like he's like Jonathan Toews, where it's like his numbers don't jump off the page, but it's not like he's doing much outside that offensive production in terms of like stats, leadership and all that's great, but not the best defensive player. Yeah.
Is this like, I'll say this might be a bit harsh, but is he just like a little bit better Pierre-Luc Dubois?
I think he's considered better than Dubois.
No.
That's a little too harsh, but
I know.
I love Kyle Connor too. I've always felt like I still feel like he's somehow as good as he is. I still feel like he's a bit underrated somehow. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but I don't know. It's like when the best goal scorers conversations comes up, I feel like he should be in it, but I feel like he isn't always in it. But he's such an impressive player to watch. Another American who's definitely taken to that Canadian lifestyle too, which is good to see.
Yeah. Him and Hellebuck, like they love it up there. Like,
oh yeah.
I think because they're big like fishing guys, and
that helps, right?
Yeah,
a lot of good fishing in Canada.
Outdoorsy people.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
he's another good personality too. Like when he was like, I remember listening to him in Sped Chicklets once. He just seems like a pretty interesting guy, cool guy, Kyle Connor. But yeah, the Jets, no, they gotta get out of this funk for sure. I think they're still Yoffs, still playoffs, but I did say it though, even when they're going on that run, it's like it's not going to be sustainable. It's like I still wasn't even sold them. Like as great as the record was, I was never like, oh yeah, this is one of the cup teams right here. I don't think so. You can go back and check. Maybe I probably did say that I was wrong. I do that a lot, but I'm pretty sure I never said like I was fully on that train. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Someone could go back and listen to an episode.
I even did it. I did at some points where I thought they were really good and thought that they were showing signs of being a really top tier Stanley Cup contender. And, now everybody's like, oh, it's the Jets. You got to wait and see. And now it's like, all right, you've waited. And now you see that. Yeah,
they might be frauds. Good. Yeah.
You play Connor Hellebuck in these meaningless games sometimes that he loses. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, you're going to run him into the ground another season.
That's the thing. Like, they're
he
having
might
to
win
start
the Vezina, but who cares?
They're having to start him almost every game, where it's like by the time the playoffs show up, like his game tends to fall off. You know why? Because he's probably tired from carrying the team on his back the entire regular season, which he tends to do the last few years. So yeah, you give him these heavy workloads, it's not going to pay off come April when it really matters, right?
Yeah, buddy, that's a theory I've had on Hellebuck for years now.
Yeah.
Is that they run him into the ground, and that's part of the reason why he looked so mortal in the playoffs. So.
They need a better backup who can kind of take some relief off of him, for sure. It's like, how long does that go on too? Because there's not a lot of goalies like that today where it's like they're super like durable. I think games have gone down for that reason. More 1A, 1B teams because teams are worried about injuries piling up, right? So you don't want that to happen because if he goes out, then you're screwed, right?
Mhm.
That team goes through him.
Do you? I mean, I'm trying to think what else we could talk about. Or do you want to wrap it there? I mean,
Let's see what other games are coming up here. What we're gonna say?
No, I was going to bring up the Islanders if you wanted to do a little Islanders talk because that's
Yeah,
also
they're our next opponent too,
that's our
right?
next opponent, and that's the only
Yeah.
other team that can put up as few shots on goal in a hockey game as the Chicago Blackhawks. So
I'm telling you, that Thursday game, I don't think that's gonna be the most irritating game of all time. Hawks versus Islanders. That's gonna be that could be a 1-0 shootout game there. Honestly, just the way these teams play. But yeah, you're right. Just not much offense whatsoever, especially when your best producer Barzal is out. Like, where's it gonna come from? You got Anders Lee, you got Brock Nelson, but like it's such a defensive shutdown team overall there. That hasn't really changed that much. And they're 500, but they really aren't because they've lost 7 games in overtime shootout, which they've tended to do. The Sounders team has tended to have like a ton of overtime losses, loser points, and that's how they manage to squeak in the playoffs every year and then do nothing in the first round. But this year's team, I don't think is even good enough to do that. So
they beat
yeah,
Ottawa last night though with they put 4 and hold on, no, the last one was an empty net
with 13 shots.
Yeah, 3 goals
Wow.
on 13 shots.
Who was in net for the Senators?
I think it was Olmark.
That's a yikes. I mean, you brought him in to fix that goaltending.
No, it was
that seems like
Forsberg. It was Forsberg.
Okay, never mind. Okay.
That's still terrible.
They've fallen off though. They had that good start and like, okay, they're finally back, but now they're 12, 13, and 2. And all 3 of those teams that we always talk about so much, the Senators, Sabres, and Detroit, they're all clumped together at the bottom of the conference, except for the Canadians, the only team they're better than, which shocker, right?
Shocker.
So that hasn't really changed. I mean, there's still time this season, but it's looking like it's going to be another season because I'm not really sold on any of those 3 teams making the offs. I think the Red Wings they're just bad. They're brutal. If any team could, it's the Sabres, and that's kind of sad that your hopes rely on the Sabres haven't made the playoffs in 13 years. But yeah, they're all clumped together, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. All right, you want to wrap?
Yeah, I think that's good for me. I mean, there's not really, besides the Hawks, there's only 2 other games tonight, and neither of them really moved me that much.
Nope.
And I think more of a busy day tomorrow, but we can get into that in the Wednesday show. But yeah, that's all I got. We'll see if some Frank Nazar news drops. I'm going to throw that out there again, just in case it happens, so I have my bases covered here.
Yeah, and maybe Jacob Trouba makes his debut tonight in Montreal. That could be
that's
the most
right.
exciting thing that comes out of that Anaheim Habs game.
That's otherwise not a barn burner, but that
I guess Detroit Buffalo, like that's an important 2 points on the line. Whoever, if one team wins that game, like if Buffalo can win that game, or if Detroit goes in there and makes the Sabres look silly on their home ice.
That's at Buffalo, right? Okay, so that's Patrick Kane's return to his hometown. He's had a tough season, so maybe that could get him going, right? Get that team some bit of a spark. It could go either way. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Subscribe to this YouTube channel at Chicago Hockey Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. And find any of our show pages, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Hop on the other one if you're using one. Switch it up. Listen to us on both platforms. Download our episodes too. It really helps us out a ton. As Lee would say, hit the bell if you're on YouTube to make sure you get all of our notifications and stuff like that of when we're live. And Lee will be live tonight for the game against the Rangers. And then Justin and Lee will be right on it with the post game after. We will catch you back on Wednesday for the podcast.
That's right. We'll be there.